So that'll be fun tonight, everybody. Enjoy it. We might cover what they talked about a little bit next week, but oh man. But moving on to oh Canada. Oh Canada. Did you hear about this? The Canadian Parliament had Zelensky from Ukraine over, because the Ukraine's still at war with the Russians. And they made a kind of a little bit of what you might call a boo-boo with Zelensky. So we're going to watch it real quick. This is, hang on. This is WION News. I don't know who they are, but I just stole this from them because they covered it pretty well.
The Speaker of Canada's House of Commons has apologized for praising a Second World War veteran who fought for the Nazis. And this comes 2 days earlier. Speaker Anthony Rota had recognized 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka as a Ukrainian hero before the Canadian Parliament. Yaroslav served in the Second World War. He was honored by the Canadian lawmakers in front of the visiting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And following Zelensky's remarks to the House of Commons on Friday, Speaker Rota acknowledged Yaroslav, who was seated in the gallery. Rota praised him for fighting for Ukrainian independence against the Russians. Yaroslav also received questions from the lawmakers.
I love that. So, it's a couple things. He was the SS Waffen division. So we're talking about gross war crimes and human violations against civilians. We're talking about capturing Jews and throwing them on trains kind of shit.
So you see him stand in the audience looking all emotional and sort of distraught. And I can only imagine, because what's running through his head is, oh God, if they actually realize I might die right here.
Well, you'd think they would realize, because they're honoring him for fighting the Russians in World War II. And at no point does anybody in the Canadian Parliament go, wait a minute, who were the Russians fighting in World War II? Oh yeah, the Nazis. This would have been one, like, if you got this wrong in a middle school test, right? If you were fighting against the Russians in World War II, who were you fighting for? Hitler.
Oh boy. I mean, I've been embarrassed a lot of times in my life, but I am not sure I could think of anything that would make me feel more embarrassed than that. You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Well,
oh boy.
Well, apparently Poland has come out and said, hey, we want this guy extradited to be tried for war crimes. He's 98, but it's like, still, they should.
It's probably more the point of it than anything,
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, the guy's been hiding out in Canada all this time. God.
And then the Canadians find him and honor him.
Right, they give him a standing ovation. But now here's the deal. So Putin, one of his initial excuses for invading Ukraine is we're fighting Nazis in Ukraine. And there are groups of Nazis in Ukraine. There are. It's a problem. It's been a problem since World War II. Now, in fact, Zelensky one of the military groups he's working with is a Nazi group. But that's what happens in war. Sometimes you got to side with people you'd normally be enemies with, right? So that's part of what's going on. So Putin, they're similar. They're both authoritarian dickheads. But anyway, Putin is now, I'm going to get that screwed up all day. Putin is now going to, and I'm sure he's already started, go on the news and have everybody say, look, see, the US and Canada and Ukraine are all Nazi supporters. They're the real enemy. They hate Jews. They're the real racists. They're the real evil party. Right? And now he's got more evidence. See, look, here they are giving a standing ovation to a 98-year-old Nazi who worked for the SS, which means he was, blood and soil Nazi. A hardcore Nazi. So, I mean, it just...
So, well, I guess I can only speak for myself. When abroad, and people have asked if I was Canadian or American, but kind of happy just to let them think I was Canadian because they're usually more popular than us. But I definitely want to make sure I know what table I'm at, and I make it known what table I'm at right now because I'm pretty sure for the first time the U.S. is the more popular kid than the Canadian.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe for the first time ever.
Could be. Well, let's watch a little bit more of this because it's just how do you honor somebody and then without doing at least a background check?
And in a statement issued later, Rota took responsibility for what was characterized as an oversight, calling the initiative entirely his own, conveying his deepest apologies to the Jewish communities. Rota said that he has now become more aware of information which causes him to regret his decision.
Yeah, no shit.
The Canadian Parliament honoring a former Nazi fighter that in front of the Ukrainian president is significant, given that the Russian officials have drawn parallels between its war in Ukraine with the struggle against Nazis during World War II.
And they gave him 2 standing ovations. He got 2 standing ovations.
I can't believe that old man didn't have a heart attack right then and there. I'd be thinking that this was some sick joke and it was how I was going to die because they just I was found and they put me in this place and they're all just going to turn guns on me and shoot me. I'm sure. I can't believe he didn't have a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's sitting at part of it. I'll bet you he was up there thinking, they are so stupid. If they only knew. No wonder I'm the master race. That's what he was probably thinking.
You think? Maybe.
I think he thought he got away with it. Well, and so far he has. Nobody's extraditing him. Nothing's happened yet. Well, dude, if I was the parliamentarian that invited him, I would be doing everything in my power right now to get that man in fucking shackles and put him on a plane. Send him to The Hague.
How could it be to shackle a 98-year-old?
Well, it can't. Well, but you have to have probable cause and all that. But it's no, dude, let's extradite him and get him to The Hague to stand trial. In fact, because I'm cold-blooded, if it were me, I'd be like, what if that plane accidentally landed in Jerusalem? We can let the Israelis deal with it.
I just can't help but feel maybe he really is that cocky, but I would just be thinking that guy's he had to be sweating bullets up there.
I think he's 98. I don't think he gives a shit anymore.
Yeah, at this point, even if he goes on trial and whatever, probably die before it's over,
Yeah, he's almost 100 years old. He's gotten away with it for almost 80 years, 78 years.
Yeah.
He's gotten away with this since he was 20 years old. So, do you think he really gives a shit at this point? He's already lived his life. He's probably only got a few good years left.
I don't know, but at a certain point in time, if a person's been on the run and hiding out for that long, and then suddenly, like, you're going to be getting all this public recognition. Wouldn't you be a little concerned that that was actually kind of accidentally? Like,
the only reason I think no is because he could have turned down the parliament and said, "No, I don't want to go." I would have. If we're on the run. But
yeah, but it might be one of those things where it's like, oh God, but maybe I draw more. Maybe I draw like some type of attention to myself if I don't. Like, oh, why wouldn't he want to do
well,
that?
why would you look up somebody who's not even going to show up? You're more likely to look up somebody who's going to show up. But yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, that's true. They didn't look up the person who was going to show up either. So I don't know. All bets are off at that point.
Yeah, well, that was
I
crazy.
guess I'm trying to place myself inside of all of the people's brains, his and the people at Parliament, to try to figure out what they're all thinking. And quite frankly, I don't know. I give up. I don't know what any of them are thinking.
Well, anybody can get tricked. It happens. And so that'll segue to our next interesting thing. So last week, everybody reported on the